This is the simple lunch my grandmother made that I still enjoy today. Join me as we uncover the magic bowl, the perfect golden butter dance, and the art of low and slow that turns humble ingredients into comfort. We'll reveal the tomato soup secret nobody talks about, the precise temperature timing, and why this combination actually works, tapping into the nostalgic power of simple food. You'll learn how to make it your own, the ritual that matters, and how it fits into the modern comfort food renaissance, plus the health perspective many hesitate to face and how to teach the next generation. 1. The magic bowl that changed everything. There's something almost magical about the way certain food memories stick with us. I can still picture my grandmother standing at her small kitchen stove, wooden spoon in hand, stirring what looked like nothing more than simple tomato soup. But what emerged from that pot wasn't just any lunch, it was pure comfort in a bowl, paired with the kind of grilled cheese sandwich that somehow made everything in the world feel right again. There are few things that scream home and comfort as much as a bowl of creamy tomato soup served with a grilled cheese sandwich. This wasn't fancy cooking, mind you. This was grandma magic at its finest. What made her version so special wasn't exotic ingredients or complicated techniques. The simple meal consists of ingredients we all have in our homes, so it's the kind of recipe I turn to often. She had this way of making the most ordinary combination feel extraordinary, and decades later, I find myself craving that exact same meal whenever life gets overwhelming. 2. The perfect golden butter dance. Watching my grandmother make grilled cheese was like witnessing a carefully choreographed dance. She'd start with thick slices of white bread, never the fancy stuff, just regular old sandwich bread from the corner store. The butter had to be perfectly softened, not melted, not cold, but that perfect spreadable consistency that only someone with decades of experience could judge by sight alone. She'd slather each piece generously, making sure every corner was covered because, as she'd always say, corners burn first if you're not careful. The cheese selection was surprisingly specific for such a simple sandwich. Any meltable cheese works well for a grilled cheese sandwich. I recommend going for any cheese that you find sliced in the deli department if you're unsure. Here are some of the best cheeses for grilled cheese in no particular order. Cheddar, white cheddar, Gouda, Fontina, Havarti, Pepperjack, Colby Jack, low moisture, mozzarella, Gruyere, Comté, Brie, Camembert, Munster, but grandma stuck with what she knew worked. Sharp cheddar, the kind that had just enough bite to cut through the richness of all that butter. 3. The art of low and slow. Here's where most people mess up their grilled cheese, and where my grandmother's wisdom really shined. She never, ever rushed the process. Cover the sandwiches, use a lid or tent a piece of aluminum foil, and cook until they're golden on both sides and the cheese is melted in the center, flipping once halfway through. It generally takes about 2 to 3 minutes per side on low heat. The heat stayed low, always low, because patience was the secret ingredient that separated good grilled cheese from unforgettable grilled cheese. She had this cast iron skillet that seemed to hold heat perfectly, and she'd cover the sandwiches with an old metal lid that didn't quite fit the pan. The steam trapped inside would melt the cheese while the bottom got crispy and golden. I can still hear that gentle sizzling sound and smell the butter browning at just the right pace. 4. The tomato soup secret nobody talks about. While the sandwiches were slowly working their magic, Grandma would be stirring her tomato soup. Now, I'll be honest, she wasn't making it completely from scratch every time. But she had her tricks that transformed even the simplest base into something special. This classic tomato soup calls for basic pantry ingredients, so it's a staple in my kitchen all soup season long. It's the perfect partner for a gooey grilled cheese sandwich. She'd always add a tiny pinch of sugar to balance the acidity, and sometimes a splash of milk or cream to make it extra smooth. The key was in the seasoning. A little more salt than you'd think, fresh cracked black pepper, and sometimes just a hint of dried basil. Nothing fancy, but it made all the difference between cafeteria soup and something worth remembering. 5. The perfect temperature timing. Timing was everything in Grandma's kitchen, though she never used a timer. She had this intuitive sense about when things were ready. The soup had to be hot enough to warm you from the inside out, but not so hot that you'd burn your tongue on the first spoonful. The grilled cheese needed to be crispy on the outside with cheese that was fully melted but not oozing out all over the plate. I use a few unexpected ingredients that take the taste and texture over the top, but the real key to success is temperature control. With the right techniques, this classic combo turns into a cozy, gourmet meal you'll crave all season long. She understood that comfort food isn't just about flavors, it's about textures, temperatures, and that perfect moment when everything comes together. 6. Why this combination actually works. There's actually science behind why tomato soup and grilled cheese make such a perfect pair. The acidity in the tomatoes cuts through the richness of the cheese and butter, while the creamy soup provides a cooling contrast to the crispy, hot sandwich. This pairing became popular in American school cafeterias during the mid-20th century, where it was frequently served as a nutritious and budget-friendly meal option. From there, this pairing became a comfort food icon of American cuisine. But beyond the practical nutritional benefits, there's something deeply satisfying about the ritual of dipping that perfectly golden sandwich into the warm soup. It engages multiple senses: the sound of the crispy bread breaking through the soup's surface, the visual of the bright red soup contrasting with the golden bread, and of course, that incredible combination of flavors and textures. 7. The nostalgic power of simple food. For a lot of us, this meal is completely nostalgic. Food memories are powerful things, and they're often tied to the simplest preparations rather than the most elaborate ones. My grandmother's tomato soup and grilled cheese represents more than just lunch. It represents being cared for, having a safe place to come to, and the comfort of routine in an unpredictable world. When I make this lunch today, I'm not just feeding my body. I'm connecting with decades of family tradition and tapping into a sense of comfort that goes way beyond nutrition. There's something almost therapeutic about following the same steps she did, using the same gentle pace, and ending up with something that tastes like home. 8. How to make it your own. The beauty of this classic combination is that it's endlessly adaptable while still maintaining its essential character. You could also totally do your own cheese combo like American cheese craft singles, Parmesan cheese and sharp cheddar. Some people add herbs to their soup, others experiment with different bread types for their sandwiches. I've tried versions with sourdough bread, with tomato soup made completely from scratch, with fancy artisanal cheeses. They're all delicious in their own way, but there's something to be said for keeping it simple. Sometimes the most profound comfort comes from the most ordinary ingredients, prepared with love and attention. 9. The ritual that matters. What I've realized over the years is that the actual recipe isn't what made my grandmother's version so special. It was the ritual around it. The way she'd set everything up before she started cooking, the patience she brought to the process, the care she took in making sure everything was just right before serving it. Whether as a simple lunch for the kids or a family dinner, grilled cheese and tomato soup is the answer. Perfect for feeding a crowd and exactly what I'm craving when the weather is on the cooler side. She treated this simple lunch like it mattered, because to her, feeding people well always mattered, no matter how basic the ingredients. 10. The modern comfort food renaissance. And this food pairing that had such humble beginnings is still a comfort food classic today. Although it's come a long way from processed cheese and canned soup. Now you'll find gourmet versions of both on the menu at trendy restaurants. There's been a real revival of comfort food in recent years, with chefs taking these classic combinations and elevating them with high-end ingredients and sophisticated techniques. While I appreciate the creativity, I think there's something to be said for the original versions. Sometimes you don't need truffle oil or aged Gruyere to make something special. Sometimes what you need is just the right amount of butter, the patience to keep the heat low, and the wisdom to know when something is ready. 11. The health perspective nobody wants to hear. Let's be real for a moment. This isn't health food. Grilled cheese is basically fat plus bread. Tomato soup from a can is chock full of sugar and some fat. No, it is not an intrinsically healthy meal. But sometimes that's not the point. Sometimes the mental and emotional nourishment of a perfectly comforting meal is worth more than hitting all your nutritional targets. That said, there are ways to make it a bit healthier without sacrificing too much of what makes it special. Using whole grain bread, reducing the butter slightly, making the soup from scratch with less sugar, these small changes can help. But honestly, sometimes you just need the real thing, in all its indulgent glory. 12. Teaching the next generation. One of my favorite things about this simple lunch is how easy it is to teach to kids. There's something magical about showing a child how to make their own grilled cheese, watching them carefully flip that sandwich for the first time, seeing their face light up when they realize they made something delicious with their own hands. The best tomato soup hands down. My toddlers actually request this, legit, no lie. Maybe it's for the grilled cheese sandwiches, but they devour the soup. Kids seem to have an instinctive understanding of why these flavors work together, and watching them discover that magic is one of those small parenting victories that never gets old. 13. Why I still make it today. In a world of complicated meal prep and Instagram-worthy lunch bowls, there's something rebelliously simple about sticking with tomato soup and grilled cheese. Or it's a good option for a fast dinner when you want a hot dish with minimal effort. And it's an easy meal if you're sick or feeling under the weather. It doesn't photograph particularly well, it's not going to impress anyone with its sophistication, and it certainly isn't breaking any new culinary ground. But that's exactly why it works. In our increasingly complicated world, there's profound comfort in something that's just reliably, consistently good. When everything else feels chaotic, I can make this lunch exactly the way my grandmother did, and for 20 minutes, everything feels manageable again. Some traditions are worth keeping not because they're trendy, but because they work, and this simple combination of soup and sandwich has been working for generations.